Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation about international strategic alliances. My name is Marcel, this is Duco and this is Ingo. By presenting two papers, we want to show you different views how the diversity of alliance networks affects firm performance. Here's a quick look at our agenda. First, we will give you a short overview about today's topic before going more into depth with the two papers. In step 4, we will compare both presented approaches to measure the effect of alliance network diversity on firm performance. Finally, we will conclude and answer the central question. The first paper is by Levy and Miller and was published in 2008. For their study, they designed a pooled time series analysis of 330 US-based firms in the software industry between 1990 and 2001. The second paper by Gertzen and Beamish was published in 2005. Their primary source of data used in this study was a 1999 survey of 13,529 subsidiaries of 580 Japanese MNEs. To quickly summarize, we can say that the two papers measured the impact of alliance network diversity on firm performance. However, their findings eventually are quite opposite. Now let's go a little bit more into detail of the two papers. The first paper by Levy and Miller does not base their research on an existing theory, but rather creates a new approach to measure diversity in alliance networks, which they call Alliance Portfolio Internationalization, or API. Therefore, we have the economic performance as dependent variable on the one side, and the API as independent variable on the other side. But Levy and Miller did also include two moderators in their research. The first is called Foreign Partnering Experience and deals with the accumulated experience with foreign partners that can help to recognize and bridge national and cultural differences. The second moderator is called Subsidiary Country Overlap. It suggests that subsidiary country overlap can facilitate learning and enables the firm to neutralize API impediments, which will eventually result in enhanced financial performance. The second paper by Gertzen and Beamish used the concepts of transaction cost economics and network theory to explain the effect of alliance network diversity on firm performance. That's why they use the economic performance as the dependent variable and the alliance network diversity as the independent variable without using any additional moderators.
Both papers have a different approach towards defining alliance network diversity. In the case of Levy and Miller, alliance network diversity is defined through their development of alliance portfolio internationalization, also called API. They define API as the cross-national differences between the firm's home country and the partner's country of origin. This variable consists of 4 dimensions, namely cultural differences, geographical distance, institutional differences, and dissimilarities in economic development. And in the case of Gertzen and Beamish, alliance network diversity is measured using a different set of variables, more focusing on the number of unique partnerships an MNE has. This is measured through 3 variables, namely number of unique home country IGV partners, number of host country IGV partners, and number of unique industries of partners in the alliance portfolio. So as we can see, Levy and Miller focus on dimensions that pertain more towards cross-national differences between the focal firm and its partners, whereas Gertzen and Beamish define diversity more in numbers of partnerships and their respective industries. Additionally, there's a difference in how the performance variable is measured. Across these two papers, you can see that Gertzen and Beamish measure performance using a combination of return on assets, return on sales, and return on capital. However, Levy and Miller only use return on assets as the measurement for firm performance, as this is not susceptible to differences in capital structures across the firms, like return on capital. And it's a more reliable measure for software firms that are still in early stages than return on sales would be. So it fits their research better. And also they're using different sort of theories to develop their hypothesis. Levy and Miller do not explicitly follow or mention to follow a specific theory. However, they have created their own concept to explain the alliance network diversity and its effect on performance. This concept is the alliance portfolio internationalization, like we've heard before. So what they expect is that API has a sigmoid effect or they expect the sigmoid effect between API and performance. So at first they expect the effect to go down. After a while it will go up, and after a while at the end it will go down again, and we will hear more about that in the results section. And what Gorsen and Beamish do is that they employ two conflicting theories to test the relationship between alliance portfolio diversity and performance. They follow the logic of transaction cost economics for their first hypothesis, and for the second competing hypothesis, they follow the reasoning from the network theory. In the case of transaction cost economics, a negative effect is expected to occur because of the increasing coordination costs that come forth with engaging in more alliances. And following the reasoning of the network theory, the authors expect an inverted U-shape.
So when we compare the results of the two articles, we can see that they arrive at very opposing conclusions. First of all, as can be seen in the graph, Lavie and Miller find an S-shaped relationship, or a so-called sigmoid relationship for different levels of alliance portfolio internationalization on firm performance. At low levels of API, the benefits of internationalization are limited. This is because foreign partners are quite similar to the firm and therefore do not provide added value. Additionally, although the background of the foreign partner is quite similar, the firm can have difficulties with managing the alliance due to unwarranted isomorphic institutional forces, thereby covering the recognition of important national differences. This so-called psychic distance paradox leads to a hinder in effective exchange of resources, communication and adaptation to the foreign context by the firm. Hence, for low levels of API, there will be a negative impact on firm performance. Then moving on to moderate levels of API, the firm can overcome the psychic distance paradox and manage its internationalization by recognizing and pursuing opportunities to leverage its ties to foreign partners, as well as getting access to their network resources, which are sufficiently related but distinctive. Hence, for moderate levels of API, there will be a positive impact on firm performance. Lastly, at high levels of API, the national cultural differences are extensive, which limits the effectiveness of standard routines and leads to high coordination cost and thus ineffective interaction. Hence, for high levels of API, there's a negative impact on firm performance due to the firm becoming incapable of actually overcoming unfamiliarity. As explained earlier by Marshall, this relationship is positively moderated by the Fortner-partner experience and subsidiary country overlap. When we move on to the findings of Gorsen and Beamish, they show a general negative relationship between alliance network diversity and performance, as can be seen in the graph, and they hereby support transaction cost economics basically. However, as also can be seen in the graph, for very high levels of diversity of the alliance network, performance starts to increase, but this can only be accomplished for a large firm and is difficult to enact. Then coming back to the central question of this week, so what are the performance effects of alliance network diversity? We can say that there's no real common understanding of the network diversity on firm performance. It can, however, be explained from two opposing views. On the one hand, we have the alliance portfolio internationalization, which favors heterogeneity to a certain extent, after which performance will decrease again. On the other hand, transaction cost economics generally supports a negative relation between heterogeneous alliance networks and performance, up to a certain degree, but after which performance will increase again. This was our presentation. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in class.